Is history really dead? This is a question that goes through many people's minds. If history really was dead, then events in the past wouldn't matter. The school subject wouldn't matter. Historical events wouldn't be remembered, and nothing would really be remembered. Ultimately, religion and existence wouldn't matter either.
Why is it important to know history? It is important to know history so that you learn from the examples before us and understand how our world has come to what it is today.
What you are about to see is a quest to prove that history is alive. It is shown by the visiting of various historical sites and interviews of the workers. We asked them these questions. What is being done to help remember this historical event? Why is it important to remember? And finally, what is the significance to you?
We are showing people what people wear just now. Important people, of course, not these ordinary people. But what important people wear, how we live, voila.
What I'm doing is I try to teach anyone and everyone who will listen about clothing. If you see here, I'm spinning wool, and this is what we had to do in order to make fabric. And there's many ways to spin. This is a drop spindle, and then this is just a regular spinning wheel. And then I make children's clothing because I think the children were dressed just exactly as their parents from a certain age. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I just try to teach about the fabrics and about children of the time period of the 18th century.
Probably my horn work.
Okay.
I have an appreciation for the craftsmanship and the art that was portrayed upon the horns. Some of these horns are engraved. Some of them have simple folk art on them. I have an appreciation for the folk art. That's something a common person would be sitting around a campfire. You know, they got a deer that day and they just keep thinking about that deer, and I'm gonna put that deer on my powder horn. I try to put the deers on the powder horns and maybe a hunter shooting a deer. I really like the folk art. So that's kind of what I like to put on home.
The role that I have is a seamstress from the 1700s, and I recreate clothing items that were worn then, and I use historical patterns that were taken from garments, historical garments, and I use fibers that would have been used in that day, linen, cotton, wool, to make this clothing. So I'm helping preserve part of the culture.
If we do not know where we come from, then we have no place to go to, you see, in the forward. So we don't want to make those same mistakes over again. And some things we do want you to do over again. Do fashionable things, you see, such as we have.
I think it's important to remember history as a whole, not just this time period, but all history, because we don't ever want to repeat the bad things. But we also have to realize where we came from. We've come from good stock, and it was a hard life, but we managed to make it, and that's why we are what we are today, just because of where we've come from.
I think it's important to know where we came from, and the time period that we do involves the American Revolution, and that's how our country came to be, and why we are what we are today. I think that it's important that we know where we came from.
It permits us to bring culture, to bring a way of life to people that they would not know otherwise, you see.
This This is the time period I like. I like this time period because it's the beginning of our nation here in the colonies. And I like the struggles. I like to learn about the struggles that we had to go through to achieve our independence. And I just think it's very important for us as a nation not to ever forget where we've come from.
It's the birth of our nation. It was an exciting time, a time of change, a time of challenge, a time for people to step up and defend the things that they really believed in. So it's just an important time in our country.
This organization runs this visitor center, and we conduct tours up through the house 7 days a week here. As I said, the other organization tries to acquire land that was part of the battlefield that's now been built up in houses or golf courses or whatever else. Every year on the anniversary we have special events here, reenactments and things like that. And we have this fall we will have a descendants meeting. People come through here. One man was already here this morning who had a great-great-grandfather who was here. And all of those people, we asked them to sign forms, and this year we'll have a meeting here of people who had family that were in this battle. We are trying to redo this building next to us that used to be a boys club. That eventually we hope is going to be our new visitor center because we have so much more room over there. So all those projects are going on here.
The real efforts probably were started years ago when the house was saved because it was still being lived in, it was still residential in the late 1970s. And the original group, the original association saved it and began a long restoration. So there was a lot of work that was undertaken many years ago to get the house to be presentable, although there were tours being given early on. But the restoration is now complete. So as far as remembering in sort of current day work, it's what we do every day, which is giving tours and talking about the Battle of Franklin, Carnton's use as a hospital for soldiers injured in the battle, the McGavock family's role in all of that, and then the care that they gave in the subsequent years to the cemetery, maintaining the graves of about 1,500 Confederate soldiers who were killed in the battle and then were later disinterred and brought here.